kidding. I played in Las Vegas Regional Qualifier for Riftbound, and I believe I got the 3rd place Rumble. Now, granted, the difference between 1st and 2nd is pretty low. Like, if I go to standings and I go to where they are, yeah, here's Pro Steel at 268, and here is Thundies losing by 0.5%, which is really unfortunate. But yeah, and then if we go all the way over, as far as I am aware, my placement at 356 theoretically puts me at 3rd place Rumble. 3 points short of day 2, 1 point short of making it to a even in contention for best of. So yeah, competition was pretty close. So starting off with my experience, Las Vegas was okay. It's my first TCG. This is my first regional, and I'm gonna be completely honest. I felt like I was just in perpetual stress hell, but that's mainly because I would finish my game and we would have 40-minute downtime. And sure, that's great for resting. Like, I know some people would kill to have 40-minute downtime between games, but the event started at 10 and round 8 ended at 10. So I was playing Riftbound, you know, only like maybe 6-ish hours, and the other 6 were left waiting. So I was kind of a bundle of exhaustion at the end of it. But yeah, my bracket run was pretty good. So this first run, I go against an Ezreal, and I kind of get screwed over by my 3rd battlefield choice. And in terms of luck, realistically, Ezreal, when I'm going into it with Rumble, is supposed to be a relatively straightforward matchup. You have enough mechs and units that theoretically you should always be able to win the war of attrition. The issue is that if it goes into the long haul, you do run the risk of simply losing if you can't remove like their own units, and if you can't remove the Ezreal before they start doing called shot and whatnot. So unfortunately, I got a little screwed on my draw in game 2 for this, and then game 3 I get screwed on my first turn, which is wild to say because theoretically, you know, you can always bounce back, but yeah, no, this one I just kind of ran away from. This is a matchup I should have won. I think I misplayed it. It was first game of the day. I was nervous and I didn't know what to expect. It is what it is. I just misplayed. Game 2, lovely username of I Got Milk. We're in losers bracket now, which means now we get to face all the people who are playing for the best of metal card. This matchup was a Leona, very nice player. I 2-0'd, as you can see, because quite frankly, Leona relies on being able to stun the singular bodies that are going into her, except I can really just play a bunch of mechs, keep my Rumbles in the backline, and all of a sudden, my Ferris Forerunner is an 8-bite unit that requires a stun, and then they spawn 2 more mechs, and then I just send in like a Bubble Bot or even a Ferris Forerunner, or not Ferris Forerunner, a Forecaster with like a longsword attached, and they don't get to win because at a certain point you just outmight their stun, which is weird to say, but like Rumble is a deck that goes sufficiently wide enough that it can absolutely dominate some of the matchups where they're playing primarily Protect the President, in which case, you know, most Leonas nowadays are playing Protect the President with Green Leona, using stun to get the -8, and that only works if you don't have enough threats. That combined with the removal in blue-red means that, you know, if you have stuns in your hand, chances are you don't have any counter spells like Defy or Not So Fast, which means I get to just simply remove all your high-end. So yeah, this was pretty fun. I got Divine Judgmented in game 2, which was wild to say because I was not expecting to get Divine Judgmented. I think because I had like a board of like 6 mechs in the first game, they chose to side it in. It didn't work because like all I have to do is keep game 2 I had a Darius and a Rumble that I kept, and then I had a Gem Jammer and Kai'Sa in hand. So I draw into Angle Shot, I detach the GA, I moved Darius up to the other battlefield to draw again. I drew into another Kai'Sa, so it didn't matter at the end of the day. And then I played Gem Jammer to ready Darius, go in, force out a bunch of resources, bring her down to 1 rune again, and then I just simply was able to go for a hold and double conquer with accelerated Kai'Sa on my turn after that. So yeah, pretty easy there. Round 3, I hit one of the 8 Garens. Lovely Man was pretty easy, all things considered. I mean, it's Garen, right? There's no anomaly with Garen. They're either playing around his legend, in which case they have to overcommit resources, or they're playing like a Shell of Aurora. And in general, the matchup literally just consisted of me playing mechs on curve, and then killing the Karina that came out to get that was going for the draw. And then I also got Divine Judgment in game 2. So really weird to see 2 Divine Judgments in a row, but you know, it is what it is. I was able to play around it, and I accelerated a Kai'Sa again. So you might be noticing that despite being red-blue and being mechs, Kai'Sa's winning us a lot of games. Don't worry, this is the last time Kai'Sa ever wins us a game, and that's only because she's one of our few low-end accelerates. Game 4, I play against a Draven. Really nice guy. Was reminding me to not remove my mechs or my units from battlefields during Showdown too early, because granted, I'm used to Nexus Knight where I just immediately remove it because I go, yeah, you got it. And he was just reminding me to not put it away, but you know, it is what it is. This matchup, he was just really unfamiliar with, and he plays a Mind Splitter, gets rid of a smoke screen, which leaves me with a Breakneck, and I'm allowed to gank over in game 1, and in game 2, I just play hard removal and then just let him get absolutely destroyed. Mid-range Draven in this scenario, this is the only Draven win I think I have, and that's just due to matchup unfamiliarity and probably a little less practice in general. Round 5, Mayor, he sits down, he goes, wow, I haven't played against anything I've test grouped. And I was like, you have a test group? So yeah, this one was really close. Game 1, I win. Game 2, he wins just barely. And honestly, game 2, I should have won. He had a Mind Splitter that just took my Thousand Tailed every time. And in game 3, I got screwed on my going third battlefield. And I'll explain the going third battlefield choice and normally how it's supposed to go. And statistically, it shouldn't ever be occurring in such a manner that I fail to get early points, but it is what it is. I did have to decide between, he had 2 runes up, I have 7 runes available to me, I have a Singularity and Stupefy, there's a Draven and a Kai'Sa. If my Singularity goes off and that 2 runes is for like a Fight or Flight or a Spinning Axe, I win. If I don't Singularity there, I just get choked out, right? And there's a higher chance he gets to draw like a hard bargain. So I had to take a gamble, and I lost the gamble. It was a hard bargain, and I can't pay the cost. So it is what it is. Game 6, I played against a Yasuo, really nice guy, farming for Metal card, or Best of card. The matchup was purple Yasuo, and to be fair, green Yasuo in my matchup is pretty bad for the Yasuo, because, you know, you hit one mech, sure, but what do you do on like the reconquer, right? So purple was really good for going back and forth. He was playing a pretty standard list where you toss in 3 Aurelias, 3 Stellacorn, and you kind of bank on them, and he just didn't quite have enough. Basically all of my mechs, once I got 1 or 2 rumbles out, could match his units with discipline on reconquer. And yeah, so I was forcing him to like recycle a bunch, and so yeah, that matchup sucks for Yasuo, especially because I play my blind battlefield is absolutely abysmal for anyone who plays around movement. Going 7th, really nice guy. It was an Ezreal. He did pretty well in the calculations, a lot better than my opponent in round 1. At this point, I am at 5-2. So the competition's pretty close. Everyone's hoping to get to day 2. So really nice guy, really good with his calculations. Unfortunately, Breakneck Mech gives all my mechs deflect, which means now Ezreal has to play an honest game, and also red-blue, I get to target backline. So the Ezreal's, FX, anything that sits in the back doesn't get to just exist. So at one point, I think in game 2, I had a Breakneck and a Ferris on the battlefields, and I had a Breakneck in my hand and a Thousand-Tailed Watcher in my hand. So pretty good luck. I was able to go to 2-0. And game round 8. Now, when I saw this name, already it was like 8:45. I was dead tired. And I saw this name and I was like, oh no, this guy doesn't play League of Legends, or this guy didn't sign up with his Riot account. Because, oops, his name is Ryan Ferries, and I think that might be his, like, just his legal name, because I don't think anyone just has that as their Riot ID. Anyway, yeah, so this guy came from Magic, really nice guy, Miracle Draven. So yeah, I did not have a fun time, and so my run ended at 5-3, putting me at 356. And the only thing is that I really can't be mad at my losses. I can be mad at my first loss, but I can't be mad at my second and third loss, because if we look it up, so Mayor ended at rank 40 and a respectable 10-3. So well within contention for top 8. He's like 1 win off of potentially making it as a top 8. And Ryan made it to rank 12. So my losses are by no means terrible. Statistically, I played against some of the best. But yeah, so yeah, that's my tournament run. Now we can go over the deck and we can go over where things went wrong. Okay, so playing Rumble. I actually didn't have it overnumbered. I figured I was either coming home with the best of card and it would be my legend and it'd get framed, or I wasn't coming home with it at all and I wouldn't pay the $50 to play Rumble. Now you may be asking, was I really just best of hunting? A little bit. I like mechs. And for a while in my initial testing, I was playing a really honest mech style. And then my friends were like, listen, you can't be doing this. You gotta actually kind of cheat, in the sense of you can't play honest might to might. So the list you see may look reminiscent of something more like Mech Kai'sa. And if you look at ChallengerTCG's list, there's no real difference. I mean, he just plays, I think, a little more Kai'sa-esque. So anyway, yeah. So battlefields, Obelisk of Power, Vile Mausoleum, and Forgotten Monument. So going blind, it's always Vile Maw. Vile Maw for us is really good because realistically, we are telling our opponent that regardless of whether or not we win or lose dice roll, I want to fight on your battlefield, and I'm going to make it so that if you are going first and you put a unit down, if you develop, I win most combats because I get to play Red Rumble turn 2, and then you don't get to play the game because now my mechs have Assault, and I play a combat trick that removes backline, and I go to Vile Maw. And I go, all right, approach. So for instance, let's say going first, play a Forecaster, and then you jam into Vile Maw. Your opponent has to give you 2 points, or they have to go and trap their unit at Vile Maw. Now, obviously, if you're playing purple and you have Ride the Wind, that's not really of a concern. But for a lot of decks, it's not ideal, especially a lot of Protect the President decks, because now you just are always exposed at a battlefield. Meanwhile, I get to throw out a bunch of little mechs, and I don't really care. Plus, Jammer and Breakneck let me move across between battlefields. Obelisk of Power is you're going second battlefield. You ideally just want to accelerate your curve. Now, It is a little bit of an odd case because theoretically you play Kai'Sa on curve, i.e. you play it turn 1, and then you play like Rumble turn 2 and conquer with Kai'Sa. But you can play Rumble turn 1 or develop a 2/2 mites, like a Plundering and a Forecaster, or like a 2 Forecasters, or like Gem Jammer Forecaster, so that you can like double conquer and hit some really good battlefields for like 3 might, unlike your second turn. So it really comes down to like preference, but yeah. So Obelisk, always super good. Obelisk is kind of needed for most decks that are not meta, and to be fair, most decks that are meta, because the power costs, it's really power and rune costs, because energy is always really good to have, and with gear, a lot of people's curves are naturally a lot higher in terms of how you can output them. Like some people may want to play an equipment and in a unit to be able to get out like the most amount of might next turn. And my little tech going first battlefield. So Forgotten Monument's a really interesting battlefield. Forgotten Monument is basically saying, hey, I want to interact, I want to fight in your battlefield, I want you to at least burn resources. Now, into Draven, that's like sort of like if they win, you're gambling that they don't win. Because if they do win, they, draw a card and, it is what it is. But, if they're not confident in being able to win because you've held like 2 runes up, you played another 2-drop to be able to conquer on the 3rd turn. So they're like, oh, what do I do here? So oftentimes they will be playing chicken and blink, and they go, actually, I will just develop again. In which case, next turn, I get to conquer onto Forgotten Monument on my 3rd, and then play a removal spell. But yeah, so the key thing with Rumble is that because of the way Rumble gives keywords, so for instance, Rumble Hot-Headed, your mechs each have Assault, including Rumble. You basically want to always just keep as many of your little guys as possible. So like Blue Rumble gives +1 to your mechs, and so a Forecaster, let's say you have 1 Blue Rumble, 1 Red Rumble, is now a 4 might unit. 4 might is very critical, and so playing a 2-drop that eventually becomes a 4-drop means that you want to preserve your units as much as possible, hence the more toolboxy kit that we have. So like we have Cloth Armor to cheat out to get us to 5 might on defense thanks to our legend passive. We have long swords for general might. We have stupefies to bring them down to our level. So for instance, some people might offer a trade. They'll go 3-3 and I go, all right, I'll stupefy, draw a card, you go down to 2. Bellows was really more of a victor tech. Or like anyone who's going wide, so like Rek'Sai, Victor, Renata Glask. I did not see a single one, as you might have seen, so this thing got cycled out a lot. And Danger Zone, because realistically, Danger Zone is kind of just worse than a longsword. Realistically, you would only ever use this if you have 2 or more mechs in combat. It just gets hit with Defy. You have to burn away basically 2 runes for this to actually be worth it. And all in all, like there are situations where it's really good, but more than likely you could have just gone away with something else. Smokescreen, really good. It is just on -4, 1 card. I get to say, hey, that 6 might unit with the gear you're playing, it goes down to 2. Now you lose to one of my 2-drops with shield if it's a mech, and I go, all right, good deal. And of course, angle shot, because we do need a little bit of equipment hate with the, like, if there's a spinning axe, or let's say someone equips like a boots of swiftness, you basically need to always be able to detach the equipment to force them to not be able to utilize it. So like, getting rid of the spinning axe on their conquer is really good, or on your turn is super good. Getting rid of, like, if there's a Rat Ezreal and they're playing Cole, you just angle shot on Cole whenever they initiate a showdown so that the pit crew is exposed, so that's always super good. We're playing red, so double falling star is needed. We're playing blue, so double singularity is needed. Removal is kind of like our bread and butter. If we don't hit one of these within the first 3 draws, we're basically banking on our opponent bricking. Now, bricking means that like I need them to either not hit units or hit mostly spells, because I'm fine tossing my mechs into the spell grinder if it means that they're not there, those aren't there for the closer. If there's too many units, like for instance, if I'm Draven were to miracle out a bunch of units, it becomes a little difficult for us to fight, especially into Draven, because they could just rebuke a lot of our bigger units. So like for instance, if we look at our top end's like there's Forerunner, Thousand-Tailed Watcher, Breakneck. These are all good rebuke targets. And so like you basically want them to be at like maybe 2 or 3 big units, or if they're running like 4 might units, you know, your 2 drops match them, and so you're playing it on curve and you don't care. 2 Kai'sas, because Kai'sa's good, 2 Plundering Poros, 3 Breaknecks, 2 to 3 Gem Jammers, 3 Forecasters, 1 Darius. He's our sideboard S cards. He's very good when you see him, because he can become 7 might if you just like attach Cloth Armor, play Darius, or you do like Stupefy Darius. If Darius are right on the field, you do like Stupefy Longsword or Stupefy 2-drop, and Darius is really solid. Blue Rumble, I mean, keyword. You may be noticing that I have a preference for red. Red is really good in Champion Zone. Red, you can play at like most energy curves. Blue is, in my opinion, a little bit of a bait in this meta, because blue basically says, hey, you want to hold, but you realistically are only ever cheating out maybe 1 extra mech. And I'd rather just play a Ferris Forerunner on that curve, because the difference between 5 and 6 runes typically is like the difference between like 1 interaction. So like going first, you're always at 6, assuming you did Sinner 2-drop into Red Rumble or Kai'Sa, and then you basically never accelerate the Kai'Sa. Ferris Forerunner is just a really solid red mech. He spawns his equivalent value, and the best part is that he actually spawns better value if you have Rumble on the field, because you go, oh, my 7 might on attack and defend is now 8 might on attack and defend, which is really good. And then obviously Thousand-Tailed Watcher, super good blue card, Breakneck Mech. We run one of only in main, because this is not necessarily a closing mech. It's more of a buffing mech that lets us close next turn. So you're not looking to always have it. You're looking to essentially, if you see it, it's really good for your next like 2 turns. Because now they have to play an insane amount of deflect cost if they ever want to like deal with another battlefield. And like, let's say you slam into another battlefield and they go, oh, I don't think you can get over. I'll play the hold because, you know, there's no other option, or they're trapped at Vilemon, and I go, all right, Breakneck Mech, I'm going to gank over. Now, sideboard, Angle Shot for a little more gear hate. Thermo Beam for extra gear hate. Now, we could be running Rocket Barrage. I always found that, like, Rocket Barrage was a little too expensive when I could just play Thermo Beam and just kill all the gear instead of playing Rocket Barrage or Rocket Barrage repeated. Third, Singularity, because removal is bread and butter. Minotaur, because we play Vilemon first, we do need a way to prevent us from getting fight or flighted in games 2 and 3. So 2 Minotaur to hopefully see it. Now, granted, every time I played Minotaur, it did feel like I was kind of in a losing situation, but that's also kind of down to luck. Like, I'll explain what happened in a sec. And then obviously a second Bryn here for going against Draven or anyone who plays like Rebuke or Fight or Flight so that they can't do it. And a second Breakneck in case I run into Ezreal's, which I did. And I should have won, but I actually didn't hit another Breakneck. So yeah, so Forgotten Monument, theoretically, you should, with 8 2-drops, and your opponent more than likely playing Obelisk going second, you should, in theory, have 11 cards out of your 39 that, I say 39 because you Rumbles in the Chosen Champion Zone, but you should theoretically have 11 cards that you can play. So after mulliganing 2, you, in theory, it's like a 90-something%. Every Forgotten Monument game that I played, I did not have a turn 1 play. Now, granted, Forgotten Monument is still really good at slowing down your opponent because it means they can't score on that one and get 2 points on you, but most people aren't even doing that in the first place. So it really was just I went first only to give my opponent a going first with extra runes. So yeah, that was a bit of a rough situation. Now, would I sub this out for anything? Maybe I sub it for Trifarian, maybe. But if I do that, I have to sub like maybe a Bellows and a Stupefy for production surge, so I have more mechs. Maybe I do like Star Tipped Peak for extra hold power, just to make use of shield. But yeah, the biggest thing was just we need to play hostile battlefields or neutral battlefields to avoid giving our opponent value, and I rolled the dice and I lost. 3 Forgotten Monuments played, 3-0 turn 1 plays, so it is what it is. But yeah, so that was my experience at Vegas. All in all, for my first TCG, I'm pretty happy with where I ended up. The only regret I have is that my the best of that I lost to won through tie, and I was inspecting their bracket run, and it didn't look. I mean, no, I'm not allowed to say that, because at the end of the day, yeah, I also got a Garen and Leona rounds 2 and 3, so yeah, I mean, like, it is a little unfortunate, but that's just how it goes. Like, we live and die by luck. I got super lucky to only have to play into 3 Dravens, and a little unlucky that 2 of the Dravens I played into were in top 64. But yeah, I think regionals was still super fun. It was just really exhausting given the pace of play, and I hope they improve that, because holy crap, Riftbound may be new, but like rounds were going into 30 or 40 minute overtime. Now they need to do a better system for deck checking, because we would always be guaranteed basically 10-minute overtime while they do deck check with what's it called? They do deck check with the pairings, and then they go to a table, they go, hey, you've been selected for deck check, and they take 10 minutes. So they give you back 10 minutes, except that means everyone else is 10 minutes late. And then because they're 10 minutes late, now everyone who gets deck checked also goes into OT, because they're like, well, I'm going to play to the best of my ability. And then they go to 40-minute overtime because they're like arguing a judge call. Like, I think 5 out of the 8 main day 1 rounds were held up because it was some judge call over like some ridiculous thing. From what I hear, it was ranging from, oh, judge call because they claimed their opponent didn't follow like the proper point procedure, and so they had to go and like trace back the points, to like something as silly as like, my opponent is slow playing because they're miracling, except like the miracle was going at a reasonable pace. Now granted, miracle is basically what holds up most games, because Miracle goes for so long. So if you have a Miracle Mirror, I mean, everyone needs sufficient time to play, and especially when you're miracling on turns, it is a logistical nightmare, because you're like, oh, I have to miracle to pull out a win. But yeah, 5-3 first TCG. I'll probably look to do at least 1 more regional in my time with Riftbound. I think Riftbound's just super fun. I'm hoping that whenever Udyr releases, I'll be in a position to go to the next regional. But yeah, I don't think I'd do another regional in the near future. Maybe 1 more for Ego, where I play a meta deck. But yeah, Rumble at Vegas, not too bad. Yeah, that's it. Thanks.